Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've got a really interesting one for you today. All these articles you sent are about AI models, especially ones used for prediction. We're going to figure out why even the best AI, well, can make some pretty bad decisions sometimes.
And that's what's so interesting, right? Like, what makes an AI model really the best for actually making decisions? It's not always about, like, being the most accurate.
That's already kind of throwing me off.
Hmm.
But yeah, let's dive into that. So we're talking about predictive AI models, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just give us a quick reminder of what those even are and why should people even care about them?
So basically, they're systems that use information to try to guess what will happen in the future. Like, if you take a certain action, what's going to be the result? And the reason this matters is that these models are making more and more decisions in all kinds of fields. So they're actually impacting our lives, like whether we know it or not.
So you mean like those robots that are learning how to move around a room?
Yeah.
Or is it more like Wall Street algorithms?
Yeah.
The ones that are trying to predict what stocks are going to go up?
Yes, exactly. Those are great examples, but even things we might not think about, like the AI that controls your smart home, the thermostat and all. Actually, that paper you sent, it uses an example of an AI running a whole vertical farm. It's controlling the light, temperature, all that to get the plants to grow best.
Whoa, hold on. AI's running farms now. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so these models are already doing some pretty complex stuff, but you said something about a problem with how they're usually made. What's that about?
The problem is most models are built to be as accurate as they can be, like in their predictions. They use all this past data to find the best fit.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So the more accurate the prediction is, the better the decision you'd be able to make, right?
Well, you'd think so, right?
Right.
But here's the catch. In situations where things are complex and there's a bunch of variables, the best fit for old data, it doesn't always lead to the best decisions in the future. And this is where we get to what are called decision-oriented models.
Decision-oriented models. So
Yeah.
these are different than the normal ones. What's the difference?
Instead of just, trying to nail the prediction perfectly, these models are actually built with the decision you're trying to make in mind. Like, what are you trying to achieve? The paper, it even lays out all the math for what makes a model optimal for actually making decisions. It's pretty cool.
So it's like the model has to think ahead about what's going to happen because of its prediction. That's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, you got it. And this paper, it actually lays out 3 big ideas to help us understand this. So first, just going for the most accurate model isn't always the best way to go if you want to make good decisions. You got to line up the model with what you want to happen, not just, how well it predicts the future. Second, and this one might surprise you, sometimes the simplest models can actually do better than those super complicated ones.
Wait, really? I would think you'd need a complex model to deal with all the uncertainty of, the real world.
You'd think so, right? But it's not always the case. The paper shows that even simple models, like the ones where things are more predictable, deterministic, they call them, those can be the best for some decisions, even when things are uncertain. It kind of goes back to that curse of dimensionality thing, where sometimes having too much information can actually make your model worse at making decisions.
Okay, you're starting to lose me a little bit, But this is interesting. So what's the third big takeaway from this paper?
It basically gives us a whole new way to think about what makes a prediction model really the best for decision making. It's not just about being right with your predictions. It's about making sure those predictions lead to the best actions, in the real world.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. But why should our listeners care about all this? This all sounds kind of technical and complicated.
Well, if you think about it, these decision-oriented models are popping up everywhere. They're in self-driving cars, online recommendations, even healthcare stuff. So understanding this stuff can help you be more, how do I put it, a more informed citizen, especially as AI gets bigger and bigger in our lives.
Right, so this isn't just some academic thing. This is actually impacting our lives.
Exactly. And the coolest part is, even without all the complex math, we can all start asking those important questions about the AI we see every day, like, is it actually making good decisions, not just, spitting out predictions?
This is getting me really curious, actually. But how do we even build these decision-making AIs in the first place? I think that's what I want to know.
Let's dive into that in part 2. So you're asking the big question, right? How do we actually build these decision-making AIs? Well, one way is through something called reinforcement learning, or RL for short.
RL, right. Isn't that how they taught computers to play all those games like Go and chess?
That's the one. Think of it like training a dog. You give them a treat when they do something good, and you try to, discourage the bad stuff. With RL, it's kind of the same idea. You train AI models by giving them rewards when their decisions lead to good results.
So it's like the AI is trying things out, but instead of just looking at individual predictions, we're looking at like the bigger picture of what those predictions lead to, right?
Exactly. You're connecting those predictions to actual actions and seeing how well those actions get you to, what you want to happen. And this is where those simple models, the ones we talked about, the deterministic ones, they can really shine.
I'm still a bit confused about how a simple model can be better.
Yeah.
Can you give me like an example of how that works in real life?
Sure. Remember that example from the paper about the battery system? You've got a battery, and you can buy energy to store, then sell it later to make as much money as possible.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. Like one of those home batteries that store solar power.
Yeah, just like that. Now, you could build a super fancy model that tries to predict every little change in energy prices. But what the researchers found is that sometimes a really simple model, like just buy when prices are low, sell when they're high, that actually worked better.
Seriously? How is that possible?
Because it's totally focused on what you actually want, making money. That complex model, it might be amazing at predicting the prices, but sometimes it got lost in all those details and ended up making choices that didn't make money in the long run.
Ah, I get it. It's like that saying, penny wise and pound foolish.
Yeah, exactly. The researchers actually tested this idea out. They used a simulation of a smart home, like a heat pump system. They found that by using reinforcement learning to tweak a simple model, they could really boost how well it worked.
So they taught the AI to make better decisions about like when to turn the heat pump on and off to save energy and, keep the house comfortable.
Yep, that's it. And the results were pretty cool. They saw, I think it was around 9% improvement compared to where they started. It really shows you what you can do when you combine these simple models with reinforcement learning.
This is pretty amazing. So even though these models are simple, they can still learn and get better at making decisions over time.
Exactly. And what's even cooler is that they don't need tons and tons of data to do it. They can actually learn with a lot less data than those really complex models.
Okay, this is all a lot to take in, but before we go too far, can you just remind us, what are the key takeaways from all this research, and why should our listeners care?
Of course. So first, we learned that when it comes to AI that makes decisions, just being accurate isn't the whole story. It's more important to have a model that's actually, aligned with what you want to accomplish.
Right, so it's not just about predicting what will happen, it's about making sure those predictions actually help us do the things we want to do.
Exactly. Second, we saw that sometimes simple models can be more effective than complex ones, especially when you use techniques like, reinforcement learning to train them.
So it's like that saying, keep it simple, stupid.
You got it. And finally, this research gives us a whole new way to think about how to judge these AI models. It's not just about looking at how accurate they are, it's about asking, are they actually making good decisions? Decisions that make our lives better, not just more complicated.
Right, and I guess that's something we can all think about, right? Even if we're not, AI experts.
Exactly. The good news is you don't have to be a computer scientist to start asking these questions. We can all be, smarter about how we use AI just by thinking critically about, the stuff we interact with every day.
This is really interesting. But before we move on, I have one more question that keeps popping up. We've been talking about AI that makes, the best possible decisions, but
what about AI that makes ethical decisions?
right. Exactly. Can we design algorithms that not only achieve our goals, but do it in a way that's, morally right? That's the ultimate challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing to think we can actually help shape that future, This whole conversation has really made me think differently about AI, It's not just fancy algorithms and robots taking over the world or whatever.
It's about, like you said, really getting what those algorithms are doing. And are they actually good for us, for everyone? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And it's about making sure that as AI gets, more and more powerful, it's doing things the right way, ethically, like following our values. That's a big responsibility, but we got to face it.
And the cool thing is you don't need to be a computer whiz to be part of this.
Yeah.
We can all start by just noticing the AI we're using every day.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Next time Netflix is telling me what movie to watch, instead of just hitting play like a zombie, maybe I should stop and think, do I actually want to watch this? Or is this just Netflix trying to keep me glued to the screen?
Yeah.
Exactly. Or think about those smart assistants, right? Everyone's got one now. Are they actually making things easier? Or are they just spying on us, gathering all this data about everything we do.
Wow, yeah. That's kind of creepy when you think about it. These are questions we should all be asking, for
Yeah.
sure. This whole deep dive has really been a wake-up call for me. I used to be kind of scared of AI, to be honest,
Mm.
but now I feel like I can actually understand it and, like, demand more from it, you know?
I think that's what needs to happen. We all need to move past the hype and really talk about what kind of AI we want and what kind of future we're trying to build.
It's been awesome talking about all this with you. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive.
Absolutely. And remember, this is really just the start of the conversation. AI is going to keep changing, right? So we need to keep learning, keep asking the tough questions, and keep working towards a future where AI is a good thing for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to all our listeners out there, keep diving deep, stay curious, and never stop questioning the algorithms that are shaping our world.
And until next time, keep learning, keep exploring.
See you on the next deep dive.